Understanding.
Yep.
I think we're,
good.
yes.
Okay, so we're gonna start right. Okay, first agenda item on the agenda is the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hi, Paul.
Hello.
So just for a couple of adjustments to the agenda, number 6, we're not discussing today. The Bridge New York program funding. And we're adding this to like 9A will be the Central New York Stormwater Management Coalition resolution. And I think that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything to add or take off? Okay, so we're gonna, like I mentioned just before we started, jump right into our first item, the Do Good Park proposal. Jonathan Rossi is here. He's a member of the Parks Commission and he has a proposal to kind of discuss with us. And
yeah, so thank you for having me and for considering my proposal here. So I'm, in addition to being on the Parks Commission, I'm an avid member of the local mountain bike community, and we happen to have some fantastic trails in the area between Green Lakes and Do Good Park. And what I'm looking to do is sponsor some improvements to Do Good Park. One is sort of an updating of the pump track, which is there. A pump track is, if you've ever gone on a swing before, you know how you can move the swing by pumping your legs. It's the same idea. It's sort of an undulating area of trail. It's not very big. It's about a little bigger, twice the size of this room maybe. And a rider can actually, by pumping their weight up and down rather than pedaling, they can propel themselves around. It's good for improving balance and strength, and it's fun for kids. That's when my kids started riding when they got there. So it's old. It needs a little bit of updating. In that same general area, there is a picture and a proposal of on this map of Do Good Park, the general area where I'd like to put in a skills park. So in conjunction with CNY Dirt, which this board recognized back in the fall for the new bridges that were installed at Do Good Park, and the Sharks team, which is a coached local competitive branch of NICA, which is the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, it's a mountain bike team, would like to design some features that would help improve riders. There's a couple examples in there of what are called skinny features, which are narrow things for riders to ride, to put in a drop progression, which would be another wooden feature where they can progressively work on their skills. And this is actually, in addition to being a fun thing, this is going to help riders ride safer and ride better because it'll improve their skills. Most of this stuff I plan to have built off-site, and then we'll bring them in, we'll install them in place. We'll work generally with the existing trails. We'll have to clear out a little bit of area for the drop progression because we need some elevation there. The most challenging thing is actually going to be contending with the poison ivy, which is why I want to kind of get things going a little early if possible, if not to just scope out where we want everything before it starts getting infested with that evil weed. And then just some general improvements to the trails that already exist in that area. Another being signage. I'd like to put, and there actually isn't one, there should be. I'd like to put signs just generally at Do Good Park that do say helmets required. I don't think I've ever seen someone riding out there without a helmet, but I think that would be a good thing to have on a sign. And then also some signage on the different features that we put in and how to safely use them. I probably forgot to say a few things, but be happy to answer any questions. I'd like to run the funding through CNY Dirt. So the only expense that the village would incur would be the signage, which would actually be run through the Parks Commission.
so the parks, you talked us over with the signage with the parks and they would
Yeah,
you would design something, they could bring it to us for approval.
The last Parks Commission meeting, I was actually on our annual family ski trip. So I have emailed this to them and I have talked directly with both Jane and with Mark.
Okay. And then all the outside of that, all the funding and all the labor is going to come from volunteers like yourself.
Correct.
Or...
And that's another thing. I've worked on trail builds before. But I'm looking to get some people that have some expertise in design. I've talked with a few already. When the snow is gone, which will be in a couple of hours, hopefully. We'd like to get out there and start sort of scanning the area while all of the snow is melted, but before everything grows in, so we can plan things out a little bit more.
I think, I do think that this is how this has developed in that park so far as any of the trails and stuff have been kind of by volunteerism.
Exactly.
And by
that's-
the,
yes, we
or
have-
things like that or whatever to develop this, hasn't been a village type of
Yes, it
project
would be
or whatever
volunteer.
it's all been.
I have copies of the waivers for when we finally do that for the trail build itself.
You knew where I was going. And I thank you for being here, because you've been before us before and chatted with us. I've talked to you in a different location, I know. I think it's a reasonable proposal. You know, I'd like to see a little bit more dressed up, if you know what I'm saying, once you know where you're going totally, your design, et cetera. But I think it's a very reasonable proposal.
Thank you. I wanted to.
And I think it's important for us, because the signage is actually one of the things that we should be looking at. Because that actually protects the village, if you know what I'm saying, and we have to look at that, how we deal with that too, so. That's because I get very concerned about liabilities along the way. I think you understand.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever in my years of now, at least not in the past 10 years or been out there and seen anybody riding without a helmet. I see sometimes on like the Erie Canal system, and those are the people that are likely to get hurt. I do think that generally as a community, we're pretty safety driven, and I want to emphasize that in everything we do when we put the park in, to make this something that enhances safety and training riders rather than anything that we detract from.
That's mostly my main concern, the
Yeah.
safety of the people who are utilizing along the way and making sure we're doing it right.
Yeah, and I'm completely willing to submit updates as we go forward. But before I start communicating and asking for money, I wanted to at least get, sort
A
of
good feeling or a good sense of
Yeah.
where we're gonna go.
Yeah, well, this is an area you've been using currently already, correct?
Say again?
This is an area that you're using currently and in the past, correct?
Yes, it's already very popular for there's people that walk their dogs, but it's very common and very, very used by
A lot of
cyclists.
hikers in there, and the shared use is part of my question that goes
Mhm.
along with it as well.
Yeah,
And the members of the Parks Commission, previous members of the Parks Commission actually constructed what we have.
correct. Derek Ziprick was very instrumental in the initial build there, and he's in Vermont now, I think, but yes.
Another Brooksider.
Yes, his brother's still there, I think.
Jonathan, everything you're saying looks great. This looks great. It's a little hard for me to absorb it all in 5 minutes. So, Mark raised a couple of things. In terms of liability, I think that's a question I would want to, explore a little bit more. And I'm also curious about the age range that is appropriate for the skills park and how we will monitor that so that people who don't have the skills, how does that work?
Generally, we associate things the same way that skiers do. Trails that are listed as green, blue, or black. There's nothing there. Everything is green or blue-green in that area. The progression itself, anytime I've ever seen young kids there, it's with their parents learning how to ride, or the mountain bike team with their coaches. I think that we'll put in the signage, we'll make sure that, this is the beginner, this is the intermediate, nothing there is going to be expert level. So a lot of it will be on the rider to make sure, but then again, so is really any activity that's going to happen in the woods. If someone wants to try riding into that ravine, which they never have, they would, a sign probably would stop them. But every interaction that I've had with people there is people that are out there to enjoy themselves and to not get hurt.
Which is great. And there's never been any problems that I've ever known of.
No, and I think that if there's like the signage with the, requiring helmets required, it's not something that's come up, but I think it's good to have that there at the entrance of the park. I think it's also good, and we're working toward this, to have a updated trail map, because that map that's actually on the sign for Dugwood Park is completely inaccurate. That was built before the trails were.
Okay. Well, I wanted to say that I've always been a really big fan of the Parks Master Plan. I've learned so much from it. It was a really great document. It's great to see it being carried forward.
The Skills Park is mentioned in the master plan.
Yeah, and so many great things are in that master plan. It's still relevant, even though it's a few years old. So is it possible for you to give us like a sense of what those signs would look like? I'm coming from the perspective of
Well,
children.
eventually the signs would have to come here for approval.
Okay, so what
And it
are
would
we
come
voting
through,
today?
so I guess where I'm thinking, and you can correct me if you want
Mhm.
something different than this. I think you're looking for a general consensus and or either a general consensus or perhaps an approval of the board to move forward with something like this so that he can then go for funding and look for ways to implement what you're proposing here.
Right,
And
that's
if that is the case, then it would be my thought that once you get that in place, you would just come back for like one more review with us perhaps and tell us where the funding's coming from, who is doing what again. Just kind of briefly to give us an update as to where that all stands. In conjunction with this project, they've already been developing some signage with the Parks Commission, which would would finalize those signs, and then they would come to us for approval and expense to pay for those signs. So we would be able to review, at that point, we would review the signs and things, not necessarily before we do the projects, or as in conjunction with the project, not necessarily at this particular stage, but I don't know if that answers your question.
It does provide a
Or
lot
help
more.
or
It
whatever.
does help
Okay.
me to get up to speed again quickly.
Yeah.
And have we looked into what impact it might have on our insurance?
That shouldn't make any difference to our insurance because it's already being used for these functions anyway. So the
Okay.
improvements are improvements to what was done a few years ago.
Mm.
And the enhancements are part of what's already being done there basically, except it's making them a little bit better for the riders and things. Is my understanding. I
Yes,
could be
that's
wrong.
correct.
But our liability would still be the same no matter what. In this regard, if we were going to like expert things or something, then it might increase our liability of some sort.
There's a lot of this is sort of at least initially designed after, there's a park out in, I don't remember the name of the town, it's in the Southern Adirondacks, it's called Wheelerville is the name of the actual park there.
Hmm.
And there's a training park, a skills park down at the bottom, which is built on relatively flat area, but it has some wooden features to ride along and it has some rock gardens. Rock gardens are just, you know, collections of rocks to work on your technical skill riding over the rocks. And that's sort of in my mind, the basis for this. I looked for some pictures of Wheelerville. I couldn't find any. I'll just have to go back and visit.
So what you want to start doing stuff right now?
I want to start planning right now.
Planning,
And I want to
okay,
start trying to secure, you know, asking for funding to build the features.
Okay,
What I would do is, when we kind of have an idea, I'll mark out with surveyors tape where things go. I'll take more detailed pictures of where everything would be.
Well,
And then I come back. And that's one of the reasons that I came here this morning was so that I could get things moving in as the spring develops and as you come up with questions and get to working on those.
okay. So is there such a thing as a walkthrough?
Yeah, oh, by all means, yeah. We just would have to do that before the poison ivy grows in.
I was going to ask the same thing because I haven't been on the bike trail and I probably.
Yeah, I it's a
Well,
beautiful
it's-
area. The spring houses are back there and there's a wider maintenance trail that kind of runs through a lower, easier loop. That's great for walking. There's a back loop that does go, it is a little bit more rugged as it goes uphill and then comes back downhill, but the whole area is really nice. If you haven't had a chance to walk through, I highly recommend it.
The devil's in the details here, and I do have to make one comment. I have to make sure I check with Bobby what's going on.
Yeah.
We have DPW facilities back in there also.
Yes, it's not the only thing I would need DPW to do, and I've worked before with Bobby on this, just to get the gates unlocked. It makes getting to that area a little bit easier than having to snake all the way around it,
Yeah.
but we wouldn't be impacting the DPW area.
As you said, devil's in the details. I like it.
Oh, no questions are
The
great.
details are really what.
Any concerns from you, Paul, in the fire
Yeah.
department side of things?
Yeah, Paul, I was gonna ask Paul, he's on,
Yeah.
fire chief.
Nope, I think as long as we still have the same access points, I think everything will be good.
Okay,
Thank you, Paul.
I couldn't hear him.
He said that there weren't any
Okay.
potentially bad impact to.
I've never seen a dangerous parking situation.
So do we anticipate that because of some of the funding from two different, it sounds like two different funders, that we might be getting more attention, might be drawing more people into what into beyond what we're currently.
It's certainly possible that people would come to specifically do that, which I think is a boon to local businesses, our gas stations, our restaurants. The parking we could certainly monitor, and I have a couple of sort of, follow-up things built in here as far as maintenance, but we can certainly follow up as far as the any parking concerns as they develop as well.
That parking lot is all old road millings anyway, so if we needed to expand it, we have a stockpile of road millings that could increase the size.
It's great. I asked the question. Just because I'm asking a lot of questions, I don't want you to think that I'm not.
Oh, no, I'm here for
I'm
questions.
actually a little excited, and sometimes when I get excited, I don't remember to ask important questions, so I'm trying to be sure to ask those. So I look forward to either, if you can ride really slowly, I'll come out with my new helmet and my bike. It's tuned up and ready to go. I'm not going on any trick things, and I would love to take a little ride and see more of it. So
Yeah, excellent.
I'll contact you.
So that might
Okay.
be something I'm hearing that we'd be interested in, once you get it marked out, maybe let
Yeah.
me know so I can let them know about, or let Karen know in the office so that she can let us know that things are marked out, or we can schedule a time to meet there and kind of walk through it or see about it. But does anybody want to make a motion to go forward with this, or do you want to just kind of give us this
It sounds like they're looking for a preliminary
a
approval.
preliminary, right, that's what
I
I'm
move
saying,
that
like,
we,
we're,
grant preliminary approval to this and continue dialogue.
Yeah.
Dialogue.
Second.
okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so
All
much for
right, thank
coming
you so
on.
much. And if you ever, my phone number is on here. If you ever do want me to show you around the park.
Definitely.
Last year we had put up, actually last year and the year before, it kind of took me a little while, trail markers on all of the trees. So there's blue, there's green, and there's yellow trail markers. Which does help if you have never been there before, but I would be more than happy to show you around.
That's great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a nice day. Enjoy this beautiful weather.
Yes.
Like reason the parking spots.
I can get through the minutes and the abstract, and then we'll do that. So, just the minutes of our February 24th meeting, 2025.
We accept the minutes.
That's seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And then our abstract number 17 dated today, $43,020.48. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I should wait.
You're okay.
Yeah, I think so. Park got me a little excited.
Moved.
I move that we accept the abstract 17.
Okay, moved and seconded. Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we're gonna just go to the fire next, as Paul has joined us online, and he is actually off on vacation this week, so I don't want to keep him any longer than we need to. You sent us a whole long list and now we can't hear you. So good.
There you go.
There you
Can you
go.
hear me now?
You're better now, Paul?
Yes, I think so.
All right,
Very low.
you guys go louder. Is your
Test.
volume up all the way?
All the way. Test, test.
Because we can't hear you very good.
You got your volume up all the way, Karen?
I'm trying to figure out how to get this to work there.
Mine's
Right.
up all the way. Well, I'll yell if I have to. How's that?
No, do you want to just call my phone and he can look at it and see?
There it is.
Yeah, that's really good.
It should be louder now.
You want me to call your phone, Mike?
Oh, now we got it.
Got it.
We got you now.
All right, perfect. Thank you for bumping me up on the schedule. I'll start out with the staffing. We got two going through the process of lateral transferring to the city of Syracuse. That's not an uncommon thing, but it is an uncommon thing because they're doing more lateral transfers now. And as I said in my little brief I sent you guys, the captain is retiring. I just don't have an official date yet. I have an approximate time, but he's got 30 days to give me a notice, and that's the game they all play. So that's 3 potential openings. We did get approval to canvass the list a couple months ago or before Lori left. We opted not to do that based on feedback from the other departments and the quality of the candidates. Really, the list is there's like 15 on the list, but the quality of the individuals is not the best, I guess, if that's the right way to say it. There's some red flags that came up as they were interviewing. They gave me the interview notes, so I'm taking their word for it. They just gave a new test March 1st, so it'll be 3 to 4 months before we get the results. I am going to advertise for some lateral transfers. We'll see if we can get anything out of that. But the potential for having 3 openings for 3 or 4 months is pretty significant and likely. So we'll be putting a plan together when I get back. We may change some staffing around. Going to go to the union maybe for some 24s for part-timers to see if I can get some more of that to work on the fire side. So trying to pay attention to that, but there could be some pretty significant impacts on payroll when you're paying overtime to the amount we're going to have to pay. Anybody have any questions on that?
No. Casey has one, maybe?
Yeah. I was wondering if what's happening in staffing has anything to do with the compensation package. Are we still competitive? If we're losing, we're seeing an increase in lateral movement.
So a lot of it, the compensation package is a little low. However, it's a brand new contract that they negotiated. So I think we're in our 2nd year of it. I think the bigger problem that we see now is guys want bigger and better. They want more advancement. They want a bigger agency. I mean, Syracuse is 340. DeWitt's, we lost one to DeWitt a couple months ago, and they're going to be up to 45 or 60 by the end of this year. So, we're a small agency that just is, we're trying to keep our people the best we can, give them the most opportunities they have, but we have limited opportunities. And I think that's what you're really seeing out there is people want the advancement. People want, more opportunities. And that's what those other agencies have to offer that we don't. So I don't know if there's anything compensation wise we can really do that would be beneficial to them. I've talked to Lori over the years about the 384E, opening that up. And she's not wrong by saying why, because it's not a retention tool. So, I think that's something we may want to look at, in the near future of offering that to some people and see if that's something to keep them there. I don't know. Again, that has a cost to it, but we are a fairly young organization now, so the cost should be minimal. That 384E, if you don't know, it lets you build on your pension from 20 to 25. So they'll retire and they'll be able to get 67% of their pension versus 50 for working those extra 5 years, or it adds like 167th every year. So there's a benefit to them, benefit to us. We keep them. That's the other part that's really starting to impact us if we lose more people. Our senior leadership, we got nothing left. Everybody I have now, after I promote the next 2, will be less than 2 years. So that's really going to be a problem as I get closer to retirement. If we lose our deputy chief and we have to make our appointment there, we're really going to be in a pickle with some type of officers for the shifts. So, just want you to all understand what's going on, so it's not a surprise when something has to happen.
Thank you for explaining those pension.
The other thing too is like with Syracuse, they work different shifts, so they could work like a 24-hour shift instead of the shifts that we have. And I'm not suggesting we're going to change our shifts. I'm just saying that could come into play with why somebody might want to move someplace else. It's different time on and off and things like that, working time or whatever.
We have our schedule is similar to theirs now. We do have different shifts for the organization. So 8 guys work the 24-hour shift, the same as Syracuse, but 2 guys work the 10s, for the 12 hours. So there's a little difference there, but you're right, Mike. The guys may want a different schedule, but that's something we'll have to look at. We can do that through labor management.
How many years is the contract?
4.
Years, I think, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Okay, so the other part of this debacle this last week was we in the power surges that we had like 4 or 5 in a 10-minute period. We lost switches in the building for our internet, the phone system. We had BOCES in for a day and a half trying to work on it and get it figured out. They got a temporary Band-Aid on it. And we hope it lasts. They're getting me some quotes on some upgrades that I need to do. Probably going to be around $8,000 to $10,000. I should be able to absorb that in my budget. That's not really what I'm worried about as much as the key fobs. But the other thing that I want BOCES to do is to figure out if this is anything that we can go to the insurance company on or back on National Grid or something like that for these surges that happened. So we always have that delay in our generator. So the generator is like a 30 or 45-second delay. So I'm not sure it's a generator problem. I think it's more of a why do we have so many surges in a row? So BOCES is trying to figure that stuff out for us too. So I'll give you more information when that happens, but I don't know when that's gonna pop up. And the last thing is the key fob system. That didn't have anything to do with the power surges. I had a guy come in to look at it because I was losing the opportunity to do anything with it. And then all of a sudden it went in a communication error. So I can't do anything with it now at all. I had 2 doors that were not working. In the middle of these boards, there's a board that has three separate power supplies in a box, and they have little watch batteries. And not really sure what the watch batteries do, but the moral of the story is watch batteries are discontinued now. The system's original, so it's 14, almost 15 years old. So I got to do something to get that system up and running. I've had 3 vendors in. It ranges from 26 to 31,000 to get it fixed. I've worked with one that I felt comfortable with. Can't pronounce it, so there it is. If you can see it, they can do a tiered system for me to get me up and running this year, and then in June budget for the balance of the system so that it'll be fresh and up to date. So I guess I'm looking to, and I think I can suck this out of my budget this year as well. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. I'm looking for $18,000 so I can get the system up and running, and the balance of that will be, and we'll budget for it when we go through the budget process. They're a local vendor. It'll all be a cloud-based system, so there'll be no more servers downstairs, which will help us in the long run too with managing computers and stuff like that. They have a pretty good reference pile. So I had Brian Ackerman in, who does CNY security. He looked at it. He's like, you got a mess here. And then I had Bear National in, who does the guy that did our systems out of business. These guys kind of have the product line now. He was in. I didn't feel comfortable with them. I don't know what it was about their approach or how they were doing it, but he just didn't. And he was a little bit cheaper than, he's like 24,000, but his approach just didn't seem like it was going to work. He wasn't willing to kind of split it and get it up and running and do the balance in June. This other company seemed to be cutting edge technology, willing to work with us, split it up, do some now, do some later. So that's the company I recommend going with. I'm using this as an emergency situation versus having to put a spec together and bid it out, because I really need to get this system up and running before, I'd like to have it up and running by the end of the month. That might be a challenge, but the sooner I can give them an okay, the better off we'll be.
So does anybody want to make a motion that we move forward with this, or?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions for Paul? I think we pretty much understand where you're coming from, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Enjoy your vacation, Chief.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so you'll probably be here for them anyway, so might as well let them go with
Yeah.
MS4 stuff, right? You okay with that?
Yep.
So we're gonna move up, number 9. We had Dave Hannings here, so he can, kind of go over the, MS4 annual report that we have to do. And put on for public comment, which it's on our website, or will be on our website.
It is. It's on there now.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep this pretty short.
Okay.
And I'll just let the board know and Bobby, we're gonna do more training. As this year progresses.
Yep.
So this, what I'm talking about today is not intended to really be a training for the board. Or for DPW, but I just want the board to know that there will be more detailed training on the MS4 permit. Plans for 2025.
For the board.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
great.
board
I
and
saw that.
and DPW and codes.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, yeah. So we're talking about the MS4 program and just I wanted to start with what is an MS4. It's a municipal separate storm sewer system. So basically it's your storm drainage pipes, collects rainwater, snow melt, moves it off the roads and into a water body. So these storm pipes don't go to a combined sewer or to a treatment plant as the city of Syracuse does. This is a separated system. So the rainwater goes, right through the pipes, open ditches and into water bodies. So the whole purpose of this permit is just to try to keep that stormwater as clean as possible. So we improve or don't degrade our water resources. So the village is lucky enough to be a regulated MS4. You don't get a choice in that. That's a New York State regulation administered by the New York State DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation. There's 540 plus regulated MS4s throughout the state. And as you can see in the map here, it's just all based on population density. So the larger urban centers within the state become an MS4. And then based on the population density around those larger urban centers determines who's in and who's out. Again, you're automatically subject to the permit and to the program. So this is just a little closer look in around the Syracuse MS4 area. So there's a listing of 24 or so towns, villages, the counties. It does extend into Madison County, Oswego County. But if you can go to the next one, Karen. So just a little further blown in, and really the whole village is regulated under the program. That's the brownish shading. So this is the newest permit. It came out last year in January of 2024. And this is pretty significant because this is the first revision in over 10 plus years of the MS4 permit. The village has been an MS4 since this program started in the early 2000s. I've been handling it for the village since day one. So you've been in the program for 20 plus years. The permit was going to be extended in 2015 and 2017, and there was a lot of legal court cases. Environmental groups wanted the permit to be more stringent, and it really got tied up for almost 10 years. So fast forward to last year, this is the first new permit in 10 plus years. And with that comes a lot of new requirements that I just want to quickly go through. And again, we'll do more training down the road. So the stormwater program has these minimum control measures. There's 6 of them. This is really kind of the backbone of the stormwater program. There's a public education and outreach component. The Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board takes the lead on that. I believe we're going to talk about that after this. But that's very nice because that, just shares the resources amongst the 24 plus municipalities. And there's advertisements in the paper. They do things at the state fair, and they take care of that for everyone. There's a public involvement and participation component. We're required to post this annual report on the village's website, which it is posted already. If there's any comments to the village's program, there's a contact number. It's Lori's, I believe Lori's listed as the contact for any questions. But if we do get questions, comments from the public, we'll address them. We'll revise the plan. There's an illicit discharge detection and elimination. That's number 3, known as IDDE. Basically, what that is we can't have things going down the storm sewer system that aren't stormwater. So examples of that could be runoff from a construction activity, really dirty water. It could be a floor drain that's tied in from some, older vehicle shops may have their floor drains tied right into the storm sewer system. Or it could be a cross connection from a sanitary line that inadvertently got cross connected with the storm sewer. So we need to go around, we need to inspect the stormwater outfalls. And this is done by Onondaga County Soil and Water Conservation District. So they go around, they inspect the outfalls. I know that your guys, if they see something, we've talked about that, if they see something during normal activities, we'll look into it. 4th and 5th deal with construction stormwater. So when we're doing construction activities, of course, the village is largely built out. There's a separate stormwater program for construction activities. Any sites that disturb more than 1 acre have to get a construction permit. And we're very sensitive to that because when we start moving earth around, that's where we can run into some issues. So the village has a local law. Mike Jones, code enforcement, will do inspections of construction activities. The next one is post-construction stormwater management. So, where we have ponds or other stormwater practices, like some of the green infrastructure practices that were put in, those all have to be inspected and maintained. So that's part of the program. And then the last one, number 6, is a pollution prevention good housekeeping program. So that's really making sure that the village operations are upholding and doing things to keep stormwater as clean as possible. So again, we developed a stormwater management program plan, which is really the backbone for what the village will do. This is a 5-year permit. So we're just into year 2 right now. And again, I said there's a lot of new requirements, but not everything has to be done right away. So certain things are required after year 1, year 2, year 3. So we developed a stormwater program. We put together a compliance schedule, and we're trying to pace things out over this 5-year permit cycle. So that plan Lori has, it's a big thick binder. You've probably seen it. That is also available for public review if anyone wants to review it. That's a snippet of the village's website. So I know it's tough to see, but there's a link for the annual report, which is here. So I mentioned some of the partners, again, Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board. They oversee the Central New York Stormwater Coalition. Soil and Water Conservation District, they do the outfall inspections. And then Onondaga County WEP, Water Environment Protection. They are available. They have a lab. They can do testing. If the village saw something in the water that didn't look right, totally optional, not required, but another partner that can assist. So I'm just going to buzz through a few quick things. I mentioned we're required to make the report available. We're also having this meeting, so that's kind of a public involvement and participation component. The illicit discharge detection and elimination, there are some new requirements. There's going to be a lot of updates to the mapping system. In years past, only the outfalls need to be mapped, and an outfall is the end of pipe or end of channel ditch, right where it flows into a water body. Under the new permit, the entire drainage system has to be mapped. So we need, pipe networks, channels, need to know the full drainage system. So that's going to be a big effort over the next few years. Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board has a grant, so they will be providing that to the village. There's some new construction requirements, so as new projects have construction activities in the village. There's some new requirements for prioritizing those sites, whether they're high priority or low priority. High priority construction sites are gonna be basically next to a water body. Next one there. The village does have responsibilities to inspect these construction activities. In years past, it was always kind of left up to each MS4 how often they wanted to inspect construction sites. But this permit specifies a minimum frequency that the village has to inspect active construction projects. And there's also a requirement for these post-construction practices. So again, these are your stormwater ponds, other stormwater practices. We have an inventory right now of all the village-owned stormwater practices. We've been inspecting those in the past and will continue to do so. One of the changes here is the village is also going to be required to maintain an inventory of any privately owned stormwater practices. The village doesn't have to inspect private practices, but we'll work on getting out some information to those private property owners that have stormwater practices to make sure that they're doing their inspections.
Give me an example of what that would be.
It could be, it could be a homeowners association that has a pond that wasn't turned over to the village.
Briar Brook has some of those.
It could be, any of the developments, any of the commercial developments, they're gonna have some private practices that weren't turned over to the village. All right, the last one is pollution prevention, good housekeeping requirements. We're required to do an inventory of all the municipal programs and properties. And the only kind of high priority, I think you can go to the next one, Karen. The only high priority site is going to be the DPW garage. So basically, if you have salt storage, fuel storage, automobile fluids, you have to have a site-specific stormwater pollution prevention plan. So that's something that we'll work on for the DPW facility. And then lastly, just some additional requirements. And a lot of this stuff is things that the village already does and has been doing: street sweeping, catch basin cleanouts, inspections. It's really just making sure that we're documenting that and keeping the records for those activities. So again, it's 5-year permit. So we started in January 2024 under this permit. It will go till the end of 2028. So last year we obtained permit coverage for the village. Again, I'm sorry you didn't have a choice on that. It was required. We updated the stormwater management plan. We put together kind of this 5-year schedule, again, to budget things out over 5 years to make sure that we're meeting the regulatory requirements. We submitted an interim progress report last November. We assisted with coordinating with our stakeholders, again, WEP, Central New York Regional Planning Board, Soil and Water Conservation District. And then moving into this year, 2025, we've got the annual report that is due April 1st. So Mayor, I do have a copy. This doesn't have to be signed today. I'm sure Lori probably may give me that also, but
I have it.
okay, eventually, yeah, we'll need that signed. We should wait a couple of weeks to see if there's any comments.
Right.
But we will also be doing some inspections of the permanent stormwater practices. We'll be doing the stormwater plan for the DPW facility. I want to do training. It's going to be different training for board, DPW and codes. Continue to coordinate with our stakeholders. Again, one of the big efforts is going to be updating the stormwater maps, the drainage system maps, and then compiling all this in reports to the DEC. I think that is everything.
Yeah.
That question?
Through the 28th. Not January 2028, through the 28th.
Yes, and in 2028.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
It will go, the new
Okay.
permit will come out January 2029.
Okay, what about water that flows between municipalities?
Great question.
No,
So,
it isn't. Because there's no answer.
yeah. Well, water doesn't follow municipal boundaries. But
We try to make it our boundaries in a couple places.
yeah. That's one of the mapping requirements. Now we have to map, where town pipes or ditches flow into the village, or where village pipes and ditches, vice versa, flow into the town or county systems. All of that has to be mapped now as part of these mapping updates. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, I mean, yeah, it does, it would really bother me if it has something to do with pollution.
Yeah,
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 but I mean,
So like we'd have to map out where the village of Manlis's pipes come into Ledyard. The Ledyard dike, we'd have to map out where the town's outfalls come in there as well.
We own the waterway, so.
yeah. Yeah, but if town water's coming into village system,
Right.
they're supposed to identify those points.
Right.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna go down to the bottom of the hill. And there's a creek that runs through, comes across Route 5, and they've been working a lot on it. And eventually it goes through the shopping center, and then it gets to the other side of the road. Is that ours or is that the town's at that?
So by the
That's
Wellington,
a-
by
that's
the
a-
Wellington House.
the boundary,
Yeah.
Into limestone,
No, the one that goes into limestone.
Yes.
Right.
The ditch.
yeah, so it would be on the state, cause it's a state road, it's
Yeah,
their
right.
outfalls and their ditch. And then we don't own anything where it comes into Burdick Street.
Oh, we don't.
Mhm.
Okay, so Burdick Street is the cutoff.
Well, that
I
property.
mean, Sims Place is where we stop. Those catch
So that
basins,
creek is town.
town or county, cause it's a county road, yeah.
Okay, because I get nervous because it goes through a shopping center.
Yep.
I'm not necessarily worried about.
Yeah.
Manlands, okay, Manlands. Okay, ready? Stickley's.
yep,
It's where it starts, yeah.
That's where the nice.
That a problem for us?
We've never had an issue with it.
Like you said, if it's outfalls that are ours.
yeah, that would be town.
Right.
The Village of Manor.
Town or village of Manlius or town of Manlius.
I'm just thinking of the places that, in my head that might be a situation. I don't want us to get accused of something.
Yep, and they are part of this program as well.
Village of Manor.
Yes, yeah, so, and the town, so they should be doing similar efforts.
Other questions? So this is gonna be on our website. We're gonna take perhaps any public comment until our next board meeting. At our next board meeting, then I would ask your permission to adopt this and to sign on for the
Is that 2 weeks from today?
yeah.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is what we would be approving.
No, not that one, the other, that we're doing. That one we're doing today. This one that you have is for today.
Are we
No,
talking about the
system,
500?
This is this one,
Just the annual report.
annual
for the bill.
report. So these are two different things, but they're kind of correlated together a little bit or whatever. So this is what Dave just presented to us is it's our management plan, and we have to take public comment from anybody in case anybody wants to question or say anything about this. Those concerns get addressed before our next meeting so that we can adopt this and move forward as the year, right?
Yeah, and the one thing just to mention on the annual report, again, it's a 5-year permit. And they did one report for the whole 5 years. So a lot of the questions that in there are. In year 5, did you do this?
Right.
And so you'll see a lot of answers that say, well, it's not year 5, it's year 2. So we're gonna deal with that
Okay.
down the road.
And so I would have the opportunity after this meeting to ask questions as well, and,
Oh, yeah, we have
Yeah.
two, we're not doing anything with this for like till our next meeting. So within the next 2 weeks, you should talk to Bobby or Mike Jones. And if you have questions about it or have something specific about it, right?
Yeah.
That would be the way
it's
to go.
mostly for understanding.
So it's something we've been participating in for a long time, but I know you haven't been participating that long. So,
It's a lot of new stuff.
okay, well, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. That was really helpful.
Should we do this stormwater thing right while we're here?
Why don't we?
Might as well,
Okay, so
it's gotta be done.
this is a resolution that I will be signing. And it is in conjunction, as we just heard, with the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board. And this is our this part being part of the stormwater management coalition. It's a cost to the village of $3,600. So I am going to read this. I will sign this, and then we're going to actually, it's due by April 1st. So the 3,600 will be reflected in our next abstract. It won't be paid until our next meeting. We approve those bills, but I'm gonna get permission to sign this and just expend the money now. And then we'll pay the bill at our next, within that next abstract. It won't be on the agenda again after today.
Okay.
Okay. So this is just a resolution authorizing items listed below pursuant to requirements of the New York State Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Municipal Separate Stormwater System Grant Permit. Whereas the Village of Fayetteville, herein called the municipality, after thorough consideration of the various aspects of the problem and consideration of available information, is hereby determined that certain work as described in attachment A herein of the project is desirable, is in public interest, and is required to implement the project. Whereas the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board, herein called the board, has provided program planning and implementation assistance pertaining to the requirements of the New York State Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, SPEEDIES, Stormwater Phase 2, General Permit for Municipal Separate Stormwater Storm Sewer System, MS4 operators since 2002. And whereas the board has proposed staff and education assistance services and support in sustaining the Central New York Stormwater Coalition, and to provide a regional public education outreach and training compliance program to reduce municipal staff burdens, ensure consistency, provide widespread priority audience targeting, most efficient use of limited municipal funds by distributing total program costs over a number of entities within a 12-month time frame. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village of Fayetteville that Mayor Michael Small or such person's successor in office is the representative authorized to act on behalf of the municipality's governing body in all matters related to the project. The municipality agrees that it will fund its portion of the program cost in the amount of $3,600, and that those funds will be made available to the board upon receipt of invoice. 3, that one certified copy of this resolution will be prepared and sent to the board upon adoption. And 4, that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Second, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
DPW.
All right.
Waiting.
All good. So I have a few purchases that are mostly repairs. We had a CD radio come loose in our dump truck, and it fell and hit the monitor screen in our dump truck, and it shattered the screen. So I cannot use the dump truck currently for anything other than salting purposes. So any anti-ice spraying brine, I can't empty the truck actually because the unload function is on the screen, which is fantastic. But that replacement is $3,793.69. It's a 6 to 8 week lead time for it. So I know I talked to you.
Right, I already authorized him to place the order based upon the fact that we need it. It kind of is an emergency, but it's not gonna be here until we had our meeting, so I didn't reach out to anybody, but anybody will make a motion to.
So moved.
So, second.
So just so everybody knows, the screen that we ordered is not the same exact screen that came with the truck. The new dump truck that we have on order, we mirrored that screen with the new one so that if we have an issue, we can just plug and play in the other dump truck. So we did that a little bit intentionally. We didn't order the same exact screen.
Thank you. I mean, I understand why you're doing it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Our grapple truck, which is kind of our workhorse, picks up all the brush, bulk, hard fill, construction debris. The main turret, which allows the main function of the truck, allows it to rotate up, down, left, right. It has a bad seal in it. We sent it to SynCon to see if we could get a bad seal. And they drained the gearbox and it was 95% water. So most of the turret has actually started to rust out. So the replacement cost of this is $13,933.48. I do have plenty of money in my son's garage budget for truck repairs. The only caveat to this is a truck that is on my budget request for replacement this year. However, in talking with SynCon, Tyler, if we don't get this replaced, we will lose an extraordinary amount of resale value on the truck. Obviously asking someone to pay for it and then also incur a $14,000, which would be more expensive privately than for us. So, and we need the truck back, especially leading into spring brush. So I would just ask the board to approve me for this.
But just with that, if you were to order a new truck, it's gonna take a while to get here anyways, right?
Yep.
So it's not just spring we're talking about, it's
Right.
probably well into the summer or whatever before you would get anything else.
Is it okay to ask what the resale value approximately is?
Truck like that, we probably could get 45,000 for it. And you're looking at
less
probably
if we-
25 if we don't replace it.
You moved,
I move.
Casey moved. Mark seconded, any other discussion? All in favor?
And then there's a third one, so the speed sign that we have, there is a yearly fee associated with it. But you do have to sign a contract, so this is a 2-year contract, it's a total of $900. We would still be able to use the speed sign if we didn't sign the contract, we would just get no data from it. So we would still be able to see, like it would still flash, but we would not be able to see, and I would not be able to get you guys the reports without the program.
Do you feel it's essential to get the reports?
I mean, that's kind of up to you guys. It's helpful. I mean, truthfully, we don't have outside of like main roads, like High Bridge, Salt Springs, Route 5. Maybe Mill Street occasionally. But in terms of like data, I don't know how much it helps. Like, we don't really do much with the data other than send it to the police. So it's just something to think about. We don't have to do it right now.
So why don't we have Ted look at the contract and we can contemplate that? I don't see that $900 is a bad price to pay for.
How long?
For 2 years.
It's a 2-year.
2 years for
2 year.
900, yeah.
I'm having a little trouble. Where in the memo is that?
It's not. I just got it this morning
Oh,
before I
okay.
sent the memo out, so I'll give this to Ted.
So I don't know if you want to wait till the next meeting and review it more, or if you want to pass it based upon Ted's approval of signing the contract for $900. I mean, I don't think it's
It's pretty much a licensing agreement for the service.
right.
It's not-
Otherwise, we're just using it as a deterrent to speeders by seeing something that flashes at them that they're going too fast. We're not going to get any useful information out of it. It's just, that would be our use of it. So kind of an expensive use to tell people to look at it. If we don't pay the 900, is what I'm
Have we
saying.
ever used that data?
Yeah, well, we've sent it to the police and we've answered
reviewed it
residents'
a few times.
questions when they tell us that there's speeders and there's not, or when we see what kind of speeders there are, so.
So give back to the people that were to notice it.
So, yeah, I mean, we've used it to see if there's people that have a lot of perceptions, and I'm not saying their perceptions are always right or wrong. But there's perceptions, and so this gives us the accurate information.
We do
Or
have-
one way of getting it, the other is to ask the police to put their trailer up, but they have the whole town to
Yeah.
cover, not just the Village of Fayetteville, so.
But we're really talking about main streets, we're talking about New York State roads, we're talking about county roads, we're, that. that's
Yeah, I mean,
really
for
what
the
we-
most part, I mean, we've put it on Brookley before, which is a village road.
Right.
We've had it up, I know for a while, we had it on Mill Street,
And it's answered some good questions for us, but I don't know
Yeah.
if it's worth those kinds of funds.
So it also acts as a counter, traffic counter, just
Yeah.
to see how busy the street actually is.
I know, and there's other ways to do that cheaply. You're aware of it too.
Are we the only ones that, does the town has them?
the town has 2 or 3 permanent ones.
How about the Village of Manlius from Manila?
I
I'm not all that anxious to, I don't know if we ever did anything with the data.
We
Yeah.
can put it on the next agenda if you want to, and
Okay,
then
yeah.
make a decision if
Put it
you.
on.
But I'm not sure I understand, Dan, because I think I've heard many ways in which the data has been used,
Well,
but not necessarily provided to us in a report.
I don't know what action's been taken once the data gets passed on. You know what I mean? So like we collect the data, we send it over, and then I don't know from there. If that, does incentivize more kind of sitting cops and stuff like that, so. From that perspective, I don't know what the data drives the Manly student.
most of the places where we've had it though, have either been on a town road or a county.
It's,
Right, I
yeah,
agree.
mostly
I
been
agree
main
with your thoughts,
roads,
Rick. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But how does that enter into what we're looking at, I guess? I mean, what difference does it make if it's a county or a state road? I don't understanding the thought behind that. Because the only way to get data is to either have the police put out a traffic counter type of thing, or put their trailer out. I don't know if their trailer collects data or not. I think one does, one or two were broken
Yeah, I
for a while.
believe one does and one.
I'm not sure that we need it or want it. I'm just bringing up points. I don't see the difference between what street it's on, whether it's a state road or a county road or a village road.
Yeah.
As far as who owns the road, I don't see the correlation of why that would come into our decision.
Yeah.
Because if we want the information, we can certainly ask the police to do that. But they have, as I mentioned, only a limited number of things in the whole town. So if you'd rather think about it a little more than make a decision today,
Yeah, I'd like to wait until.
we can wait
next
till our
meeting.
next meeting and we'll put it on the agenda to rediscuss it. And
Do I have a copy of that?
I'll send it out to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
because we just got it. So if there was a motion, Karen, I don't know if you're writing down, but
No motion.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure if we had to do something with it.
Right.
Okay,
And then the last purchase, which is not really a me purchase, but the daycare on Brooklyn Drive, their hot water heater needs to be replaced. So it's $1,900 through DBR plumbing. That's installation, removal, labor, all of that included. So they have not had hot water for a couple days now.
I move that we do this immediately.
I second.
We went down, we brought DVR in the first time, they fixed it, they said there was an internal corrosion of the gas line, they fixed it, and then 2 or 3 days later, it went back down, so.
How's that come under DPW?
We're the first phone call usually for village facilities.
They are scheduled for tomorrow, so I scheduled them just in case.
Yeah, okay.
They'll be there in the
all
morning.
right, moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
So then in terms of projects, obviously as the, winter weather kind of fades a little bit, we'll start getting out into the parks. We've done a little bit of preliminary stick picking up. We've been collecting parks trash throughout the whole winter, but as the parks get more and more use, we'll start doing that more often. Catch basins, we're hoping to get 2 catch basins that are in need of repair done by the end of next week. I had this week on there because we were scheduled to start on Wednesday, but we just got word from National Grid that we can't start until maybe Friday because of gas line issues, so hopefully early next week we can get after some of those basins. Street sweeping, as we get farther and farther away from having to put salt down on the road, we'll get out, we'll sweep every road in the village. Something to consider as well going forward, there are companies that I know the Village of Manlius is looking into it, the town of Onondaga, I'll use a company, they pay. And they come in and they sweep the entirety of the town or village in 2 or 3 days, and then it's done for the year. Not something that I'm necessarily jumping on board with right now, but it's just something to consider. It frees up one of our guys from spending 2 or 3 weeks for us to be able to get around the whole village, whereas it can be done in 2 days. So like I said, we have our own sweeper, so I'm not jumping at the bit right now, but I'll probably do some preliminary research and see what it costs compared to what we spend in fuel, labor, all that stuff, just to see any cost comparisons.
Yeah, but after that was done, a month later, we would still have to have.
We would still go out
Have
and
to go out and
sweep,
do it.
but this company has double barrel sweepers. So they can do whole sections of road at one time where we have to back up, do the middle, back up, do the side, back up, then turn around, do the other side. So efficiency wise, it's a little bit better than what we have. Like I said, but we have a sweeper, we have 3 or 4 guys that know how to use it, so I'm not necessarily saying that that's where I wanna go, but it's just something that I heard last week, so I'm gonna just do some preliminary research on it and just see what it costs compared to what we do.
Sounds good.
I think that's great. Thank you very much.
We did take down a dead Norway maple, on Euclid Drive this past week. So that is down. And then just some, snow season recap stuff. Obviously, plow damage, with it being a little bit more of a winter than we've had in the last few years, some sod has been hit, so, we're going around, we're trying to get through the whole village and we'll topsoil behind us, kind of once we know that plowing season is done and over with. So we'll topsoil and seed, we're out cold patching any bad potholes. Luckily this year with the freeze thaw, we didn't have as many potholes as we, would have had if we had the winters like we've been having, where it's hot then cold and hot then cold. So just so you guys know, in terms of data, we've just salting 30 times this year, so that's salting without plows down, that's 1 to 2 inches of snow. So it's 30 times, we've plowed 56 times, so that's plowing in 2 or more inches of snow. The anti-ice is when we go out and we spray brine ahead of a storm, so we sprayed 27 times. So overall salt usage as of today was 1,009 tons. And salt brine, in terms of gallons, we used 29,658 gallons. We have produced a little over 113 gallons of brine for use for us, the Village of Manlius, and Onondaga County DOT. Onondaga County DOT being the bulk of that. We did get our full 250 ton salt order that finished up last week. The county has had their repayment order in for about the same amount of time when we put our order in, so they are slowly catching up, so that order will be here. And then once that order comes in, I will probably come back to the board with a final order for filling up the salt shed for summertime.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Do you have the numbers of how much salt you used last year or previous years?
Yeah, so I have like a 10-year average spreadsheet that I can share with you guys. I mean, we're well above, I think last year we put down 600 tons.
I know we're well ahead. I was just
Yeah.
trying to get some kind of
Yep.
proportionality reference.
And we budget to use 1,200 tons a year, so in a really, really, really bad winter, we typically go through 1,200. And that number would have gone down a little bit, had the monitor in the dump truck not broke, because some of especially this past weekend, where you're not getting inches of snow, you're just getting a trace to an inch. The salt brine, if we anti-ice ahead of it, melts that first initial blast of snow.
Mhm.
So it does help reduce the tonnage of salt. We have been using the pre-wet tanks that we have, so as we've been salting, we've been pre-wetting. And then just as a caveat, we might be the only municipality in Onondaga County that never threw sand on the road. So,
That means a lot.
I don't know that I would clap, we got awfully close to not having any salt, but it worked out in the end for us. But I know that pretty much everybody around us mixed at some point, and we were able to avoid that. So any questions on snow season?
Oh, just congratulations to everybody for doing a good job for us for the whole lot of time spent.
Yeah,
So
so
the
then,
average was so much lower, that meant that was so much more work for you guys, and it just kind of never ended for a long time there, so.
yep, the guys put in a
People
lot of hard
appreciate
work,
it.
a lot of long hours, so.
And so your budget usually is it for 1,200 tons, you said?
Yep. So we,
And-
we budget to purchase 1,200 tons. We typically don't get close to that as the county repays us as we go. But this year, with there being such an issue with getting salt, we felt it necessary to put in our own orders. And we ended up needing it, so.
And the reason to order it soon after we get where we know how much we need and to fill our storage is because after this year, the price probably will be more next year. So to take advantage of the lower price this year.
Right.
we
There's
fill
gonna be a
up
lot
our-
of competition for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We can only fill in 600 ton in our salt shed anyway,
Okay.
so we wouldn't purchase the whole 12 up front.
so then in some not so great news, as much of you have noticed, our new trash truck has been down for about 2 weeks now. It's having warranty transmission work done. The issue being that the transmission is a separate warranty than the chassis warranty. So we had to send the truck via tow to Bean Mac, have them rule out any warranty issues on their end. And then the truck had to be towed from Bean Mac to Penn Power Diesel over near the state fair to have warranty work done for them. And that's looking like it's about a week and a half out. So the truck did get there last Tuesday, so I'm hoping to have that back by the end of this week. But just so everybody knows, where we're at with that, I did do the math. We are about 36% of the time since we've had that truck, we've had to use the old truck. So on a 4-day pickup week, we're looking at a day and a half a week roughly of not being able to use the new truck.
so if he sends you that information, Ted, is there anything that you can look into doing for the village in that regard? Because if you can give him, send Ted the
Yeah.
information about when it's down, what the problems have been.
Yeah.
Maybe you can start looking into that for us, because this was a little bit
We,
beyond what
I
we
met
should be
with-
expecting.
Yes.
I met with
Obviously,
Mike
you
about
know, I
that,
mean, not-
and I know that.
Not just a little, a lot.
I know that Mark called you about it too.
Yep.
I met with
Right.
him. I really feel that we have to, I really feel we got to do something. It's been ridiculous. When's the year gonna be?
May, in the May. So we have a three-year warranty on the transmission and a 2-year warranty on the chassis itself.
And then the
I
lifter
think
thing
the
is
biggest
another
problem we're gonna
problem.
run into is we're not having the same issue over and over and over and over and over again. It's something different. And my only concern with filing a lawsuit or doing something like that is we're looking at maybe 3 years before we can get another truck. So they kind of have us a little bit in the crosshairs where if we do try to go after them for something, we may not see a new truck for 2 years. So,
Would our cans be compatible with the town's, Syracuse haulers?
yeah, I mean, you can Syracuse haulers. I know Manoa just got a quote on having Syracuse haulers come in and do the village over there, and I believe it was almost $400 a house.
Just show it 400 for trash and recycling per resident.
I'm not sure that we're pursuing a lawsuit at this point. I
Well, we can
just think that
document
if we
and-
can
Yeah,
send them something that maybe, gives them an idea that we have some, more
Yeah.
than just a little bit of a concern about this,
yeah,
that maybe something can be reached, long before it got to the point of a lawsuit
Yeah.
or something. I mean, I'm not looking to. Really, we want the truck and we just want to be able to use it. We don't
Right.
really want.
and if it was our fault, it's a completely different situation,
Right.
like.
So maybe there's something that can be given to us for.
Right.
The time and energy spent to do that, or
Right,
maybe they have some other suggestions that they can offer if we pursue them with something. In the form of a little more formality than just you guys trying to talk to them, because I know you've had some hard conversations with them and stuff in general,
Yeah.
some during conversations, whatever you want to say, but it's still, it only goes so far.
Yeah.
So maybe this will help in that process. We don't have to go that far until we can make a decision about it. But
You have talked to him though and explained to him the
I've
bad
expressed my.
situation?
I've-
I mean, there's
yeah.
two separate things. There's the truck and then there's
Yeah.
the thing on the back. of the
I
truck,
have
right?
expressed my displeasure with both. BMAC,
I don't want to
and
jeopardize,
Livingston County.
anything that's taken place,
yeah,
but I really think that, between you and Mike and the attorney, we should at least notify them, put it on notification.
Yep.
And then if we decide that we have to do something, at least they will have a agreement.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel.
Yep.
I mean, I don't wanna make a motion to do something like that. Let's just see. what
No, I think we're all in
Yeah, I mean-
agreement that we're gonna kind of pursue this a little bit and see where it goes, and before something is formally decided to pursue, then we would come back to decide it as a board.
It would help for me if I had a sense of the cumulative total of our repairs. So you talked about like 36% of the time, but I couldn't get down fast enough, so I feel like, you know, what's our situation?
Yeah,
That
so
would, you know, it doesn't have to be elaborate,
yeah,
help me to get grounded.
yeah, so we've had 2 coolant lines blow. We've had a pressure relief valve go bad. We've had the main hydraulic cylinder in the arm go bad. We had bad O-rings in the 2 front manifolds. And now we have the transmission issue. There was one more.
We can get more,
documents.
we can get
Yeah,
more.
I've got
I'll
documents.
Good.
Also sent.
Get some more information.
Chassis once operational rear end trucks.
In the
You're able to.
In the back end, you can't lemon lock because it's an attachment. So just the chassis we can lemon.
Okay. We'll get more information to, as it develops or
Yeah.
whatever to everybody.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I attended, Advocacy Day in Albany last week for, advocating for more CHIPS funding, with a bunch of other highway superintendents from Onondaga County. Sounds like they're pushing for $250 million more in the CHIPS budget for this upcoming year, but we will see. Some of that was, an airing of grievances about the salt situation as well. So hopefully trying to get some of that stuff remedied for next year, but so. And then, we did have Stack's Animal Hospital call us last week about the speed bump again. Not that I wanna necessarily revisit that lovely speed bump, but she's calling and saying that people are cutting through her driveway again. My personal recommendation, and I know Tyler shares the same sentiment. I wouldn't move the speed bump. If we're gonna do anything, I would just take it out and pave over it and just keep the one at the bottom. That road is only 4 years old at this point, so I don't wanna keep cutting into it and making things worse. So if
Well,
we,
this point, I mean, as far as I recall, we talked about this before and we decided to leave well enough alone until the road was gonna be
We
replaced anyway.
never made a motion one way or the other to take it out. We didn't necessarily.
Correct. We had the discussion that we were leaving that as is
I don't like
until
your
we
phrase, well,
were leaving well enough alone until we had to replace the road anyways. That's our discussion. I don't feel differently about it. I don't know if anybody else does,
I don't,
but I,
that's fine, I
you
can
know.
call her back and tell her that, so.
is there something that police could do? About her problem? I'm not quite
I
sure.
don't wanna say she's lying, but it is really hard. That's such a narrow, sharp angle to get off Mill Street, cut through a line of traffic, and then cut back in to go around the speed bump. I'm sure it's happened 1 or 2 times, like when they're closed, but when they're open, there's cars there.
No true way they park. They see each
Yeah.
other, and there's no roundabout either, or out both sides.
So
Take a look. Just,
I'm not sure how often it's happening.
right, no, I don't know
But-
how often it's happening either, but it's.
We can always put no through traffic signs up in her island, but if they're doing it anyway, they're not gonna pay attention to the
I
sign.
did offer
so.
that as maybe a possible solution.
She could close one of her driveways if she wanted to. I mean, that's, you know, it's private property. It's not our responsibility
Right.
to deal with her property particularly. Obviously, that speed bump has been there a long time. And perhaps initially she had some complaints, but it's been a long time since I've heard any complaints and now I hear a few more complaints or whatever. So I don't know. I don't want to go to the expense of ruining the road just to do that when we've had them cut in for sewers and other things in there already. So
We already have
damage
patchwork
any
that
more
we're
than
gonna,
what we already have damaged by the buildings that are going on there, which
we're
Obviously,
gonna
we
have to
do it or
patch
whatever,
2
but-
or 3 bad spots already that it looks like it came from loading and unloading excavators for that job site anyway, so.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to cut out part of the road anyway, so, yeah, that's all I got.
Well, we'll look at it.
You
I
mean
mean,
it
everybody
was
wants to go.
By the construction company, they were.
I don't have any way to prove it, but it's right where they would have loaded and unloaded their equipment, so.
We have the phone number of the guy that's building the houses. Have Mike Jones call them and ask them if they're gonna repair.
It's gonna turn into he said situation, so.
What?
They're gonna say they didn't do it and it's just, so. We
Okay,
have hot patch to do
We've had-
anyway, come this
We've
spring,
had
so.
people come in and fix sidewalks because we said they did it and they said they didn't, but
Yeah.
I'd say something to Mike Jones, so.
Yeah.
we can try it, and see if they, see where it goes. Anything else for DPW?
I'm good.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of breath.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so next is the AIM funding, and I sent you all this letter, so in the essence of time, I don't necessarily need to read the letter. If everybody's okay with that, we can enter it into the minutes, but this was the letter to the Governor Hochul, signed by myself and other mayors within New York State, expressing our thanks for the increased AIM funding and promoting additional funds as years go by.
He
So-
mentioned that the other night.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Do you, anybody want it read, or we'll just put it in the minutes? Is that okay?
It's something you do every year, isn't it? Isn't it, Anthony?
Well, last year we asked for it, and this was something that we, then they hadn't raised it till last year, so this is the first time we're thanking them for the raise.
Yeah, last year was the first rating in 12 years, so it was.
I don't know if we can just maybe have a motion that I sign it. I already signed it, sent it in because we were past the due date by
So
today,
I
but,
move that we, I'll
Okay.
second.
all right, on favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Did they raise it?
What's that?
How much was it raised?
I don't know, it might be in this letter. I
We
don't
don't have-
recall
don't
because
have
it's
the
not
top
right
of
in my
my
head.
head. I don't have the number on the top of my head. I apologize.
The additional 50 million in funding is welcomed and much needed, so they gave, but 50 million for the whole state, so therefore our portion was probably very little bit. But still, if something is better than nothing, I guess. So
But that, this is still tentative until the budget is passed?
this is from last year's
Oh,
and to promote this year's or whatever, but this is thanking them for what they did
Okay,
with the increase of the 50
Yeah,
million.
actually, the governor's budget proposal is to remain the same as last year. And so that's what's going on for AIM funding, and we'd like to see if we can get some more, because we didn't have increases for so long. That's exactly where this is all about.
and the comptroller seems to suggest that next year will be the last year.
For AIM funding?
Yeah.
That's gonna have to be a very interesting proposition, because AIM funding came into place because of taking sales taxes away from the municipalities and going to the county, so yeah, it becomes a very interesting deal.
We'll see, there's always that possibility.
It's always possible.
I know,
Possibility is in
a
the
lot
air.
of things, I know.
There's a lot of interesting
Currently,
possibilities right now.
Next on the agenda is the BNY Rick Bosse's annual agreement, and this is for technology services. So you would have gotten a copy of this. Then again, if you want it read, I can read it, or we can enter
You don't
it
have
into
to
the
read it.
minutes.
You don't have
There's
to read
like a lot of pages
Read
here.
it.
So you're tired of hearing me?
No.
If you're okay with that, I'll take a motion to authorize me to sign
So moved.
such an agreement.
Second.
Motion seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The tree management introduction, the plan introduction. So this began with trustee Casey writing some information down about this and proposing a introduction to our plan that we've approved. It went to a couple trustees to make some additions and back to trustee Casey for some finalization. I think it looks nice. I think everybody did a good job on it from beginning to end. The only thing that I suggest is that under the village of Fayetteville, for the acknowledgements, that we include the tree commission.
I wanted to, yeah.
So,
Being very,
no, you're fine. Yep.
okay,
So that's something that,
tree commission.
and an outsider that read this for me, mentioned that, so I not a board member, so so no, it had nothing to do with village. It was somebody at my work that I have read stuff, make sure that if they see anything, the other set of eyes never heard stuff.
I raised another
So-
issue in my email, but do we have to vote on this? Can I just edit it with you? Just one little thing.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody's basically fine with this. I just want to make sure everybody was fine with it, and then that's the only thing I saw to add, but if you want to contact me and or we can talk about what you want to do.
Yeah.
Then I think everybody's fine with submitting this then and
Yeah,
finalizing that
a
plan.
motion's
correct?
not required.
I just
Thank
want to
you.
make sure we all talked about it, but
That's
no,
great.
nothing
I'm very
big.
happy. Thank you so much, everyone.
And thanks for your historical documentation. Initially, that was helpful and will be helpful
Something, they'll probably
for the
squish it into
future or
something
whatever.
and
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
find a place for it.
All
Okay,
right, any of the trustees have anything else, start with Casey and go around this way?
I do.
Okay,
Karen, I write it down, so, I just wanted to thank Karen for, sending all of us the newsletter about the Matilda Joslin Gage events coming up this month, Women's History Month. And one thing I'd like to point out, in case people didn't read it, is that they'll be having a tea party on March 23rd for Matilda's 199th birthday and the 25th anniversary of the founding of the Matilda Joslin Gage Foundation. And I wanted to note that Barbara Rivette, who is the former Village of Fayetteville historian, will also be recognized for and receive the first ever Matilda Effect Award, accepted in absentia by her daughter. So I think all of us, have benefited so much from Barbara Rivette's history, and in particular, she has helped to bring Matilda Joslin Gage to national attention. The tea party's at noon, and there's details on the website.
Did they happen to mention at your meeting that there's about a 12-page article in the Smithsonian about Gage?
Sir, I don't remember that, but I will look into it this.
I have it.
Oh, that would be great.
I read it.
I'd be happy to read it, or I can try to get it through them. Mike and I both received a letter that we are very happy about. The Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council officially adopted its 2025-2026 Unified Work Plan, which will be effective April 1st. And we anticipated that our project would be accepted, and now it is official. I spoke with people from SMTC, Mario Colon last week, and the SMTC will reach out to us and probably about in May to begin scoping out the project. So this is, not a surprise, but still really nice to have the detail checked. The police committee met on February 26th. And so much information comes out in that meeting. Well, I'll just concentrate on a couple things. The Retail Crime Task Force, which I've discussed before in our meetings, he presented a summary of the results of this first year's implementation. And at the time it was started, we were on track for a 20% increase over 2023 data. And the task force efforts, which were a combination of business and police and other parties, that increase, there was still an increase, but it was kept to 3%. So they, there's a number of things that they did in terms of information brochures, raised awareness in the business community. There was a public awareness campaign designed to suppress of the illegal activity. And that included signs and informing the public through radio, television, and social media. The police department personnel received training, specialized training, in order to make this successful. The plan operated for 6 weeks between November 27th and January 28th. All shoplifting crimes were closed by arrest, and that's a big improvement over previous years. I think it's interesting to note that 95% of those arrested did not reside in the town of Manlius, and more than half of the shoplifting incidents involved groups of 2 or more people working together. So I think that, that this is considered a great success that may be employed at another time of the year when there's high incidence of larcenies. I've talked to us all before about the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. The Chief Casalia is headed to California, March 19th to the 22nd. For, I believe, what's the last stage of getting that accreditation, where he has to present the report and answer questions before the commission. And just to note, Onondaga County Dispatch Center will receive an award in California for achieving their tier 2 status as well. And City of Syracuse has achieved tier. First was tier 1, then tier 2. So I attended 2 days of training from staff in the New York State Office of the Comptroller on governmental accounting. And toward the end of that was way over my head, but I did pick up some really useful information for me in terms of being able to understand our finances better. And then the only thing, because I was on the website a lot, the Comptroller, New York State Comptroller DiNapoli, discussed potential impacts of the changing federal trade policies and its impact on New York State, because we are one of the nation's largest importers and exporters of goods. So that can financially hit us in ways more powerfully than other states. He also explained that the sales tax growth seen in the first couple of years post-pandemic balanced out, and they're more consistent with pre-pandemic levels. And he advised us as municipalities to shore up our fiscal foundations, be really careful about our revenue projections, and engage in multi-year planning. But that was useful information as we head into our first budget workshop a week from today. That's it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to leave, but I got a hearing aid problem.
I'm sorry, I didn't even notice.
So I just have one more question on your subjects, is the tree. So we were recognized again as the Tree City. Are you going to go to that function on the 20th of March?
Yes, but I need to find a partner. Would you like to go?
I cannot go that day.
Okay, I'm going to ask Dick if he'll go as well.
Okay.
Dick Halpin.
Yeah, that's fine. I can't go. That's why I was asking you.
Yeah.
We've been recognized as a Tree City again. And so eventually I had some conversation with Mark about other things, and then we talked about Arbor Day. So I don't know if you two talk, but we can talk or whatever a little bit, or I could talk to you about what I thought about Arbor Day.
We can
celebration.
talk, any of us could talk.
We know,
Yeah.
we know how to chat.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I know. I had some ideas or whatever that I talked to Mark about. So one of us will talk to you about it.
and
too.
Karen and I have also had a conversation. Karen's been our lead in terms of honoring our standards for the past 23, past years that she's been doing it, but and Karen, I expressed my appreciation to Karen for handling our paperwork for all these years, so making it very smooth. And she also oriented me last year to what we have done traditionally. So I look forward to this year. And we can talk more.
Okay. Mark?
Actually, this has been a very active week. I've spent time talking with Karen and other people concerning our celebrations that we talk about within our community. We've got a bunch of them coming up. Our Easter egg hunt is going to be the first one hitting the road here this Saturday before Easter. And we've got that pretty much set up where we're going to go, and it's going to be going out to folks to know exactly what's going on pretty soon. We've also talked about our Memorial Day parade and things such as that. And so we're also looking at our parties in the plaza. We're also talking about that because that's into a new budget and talking about the budgetary concerns about those along the way. The other part that we're dealing with, all of our other events that we're dealing with in Beard Park, et cetera, and what we're doing. So those are the kinds of things that we're trying to put together. We, for the most part, are now completed and working with taking the village hall up to LEDs and energy conservation within the village hall. The last meeting we approved for the additional lights here, which was not under the grant. That grant, we're now doing the completion of the final paperwork so that, that is all taken care of. And the other thing that's really sort of important is Lori has been working, even though she's been on vacation, and helping work to get our grant with New York State DEC for our sidewalk grant that we have too, putting that all to bed so we can get going with that. That's really, Lori told me I was going to pay twice for that, and she has been correct. That's all I can say about it, because that's just the nature of the beast. And so that's really, a lot of what's going on and what we're very much working towards. So And, you know, I've had conversations with different departments in the village this last week or so, talking about budget, et cetera, and a bunch of other things. And they've been very fruitful. Appreciate the people being as open and honest about what's going on so we can actually work for a decent budget. I've also been out on the street knocking on doors, talking to a lot of people. And there's two things that I always tell people are the most important. Trash and taxes, and still true, just so we know. And the other part that I find interesting is when I'm talking about people, they're concerned about taxes, but they also feel like they receive value. And that's a very important thing to remind ourselves of. And I want to thank the people in our village like Bobby and the DPW, what we do with our snow removal, our trash removal, because they don't really understand many times all the different things we do for trash removal in order to reduce our waste stream. And it really matters. And they know that you're working strong throughout the summer months, taking care of the parks and everything else. And they all appreciate it because those are all major attractions to people. And remembering that we are, as a village, we have a large number of parks. And when we go outside of the village, our towns really don't have parks per se. We have a state park right next to us. And we have other villages who have parks. And so those people actually enjoy our facilities as well. And, you know, we appreciate that. And we want people to be working here. And so one of the things I keep reminding myself as we're working on our zone review and looking at our codes is that we want people to come and visit and work with us on an ongoing basis and work with the people outside of our business. So that's the other part that's very, very important to everybody. I'll just leave it right there. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
In our budget process, where do we discuss celebrations?
There's actually a category called celebrations.
And it includes all of these?
That includes.
That's all.
Thing,
But that-
yeah, there's a thing on. So.
Yeah.
The performing arts.
Yeah,
There might
performing
be
arts
some
is,
other
yeah.
breakdowns.
There might be a couple places, but that's part of our, will be part of our workshops that we talk
One of the,
about.
but one of the things that I talked to Lori about that might be helpful is, you know, there's a sort of out-of-pocket cost, but then there's our personnel costs for
Correct.
some of these too.
Correct.
But that is not accounted for in the budget, right?
Well, it's.
It
yeah,
is.
It is, and we'll get
It's
to,
accounted in the personnel line, but.
It's actually,
Right.
it's actually moved.
Departments
it's-
Kind of calculate.
so if the DPW is involved in a celebration, then it's in the DPW budget, but
Right.
not separated out in the DPW as $500 for this party, $500 for this concert, whatever.
But one of the things that goes on is we can get, I mean, talking to people, I understand, I can get estimates about what it costs on the DPW side fairly readily and things such as that. Also. So we do know what these are costing us, you know, not just in direct payments, but also within the town, the village budget with our different departments. That's important to know.
Yeah, it is. Because some of it's overtime too,
We budget in,
within the.
yeah, so we
Like
calculate
schedules?
an idea of what will work for the winter. And then what we do throughout the summer and we'll see.
Right. And we'll talk more about that in our budget workshops. That's exactly what this is about.
Yeah, I talked to, I think, like Merck. I didn't go door to door, but I had people come to my door and say that they enjoyed the turkey dinner and they some of them were there to speak on behalf of the way we used to do it. And I thought, well, I brought that up and nobody was really in. A lot of them came and said, did you know I was at? Some of them were not village residents, some were. Some of them said, we really enjoyed coming before when we sat at a table with a group of people that live in the village or didn't. But obviously, I brought it up when that Sunday and everybody said, no, this is the best way to do it. So we're sort of dropping that. As far as the other thing that I asked them, I'd say 3 of the people were village residents, about 4 of them or 5 of them were village residents. And I said, what do you feel about how things are going? And they said, everything is good except for, and I'm not going to go back into the red truck. Everything is good except for that. We appreciate what takes place. And beside that, I said, well, we have budget hearings coming up. We encourage you to come to the budget hearings, see what we're talking about. You can't participate in them verbally, but you can come and see what we're doing. So hopefully we're going to get some people to come. Yeah. at least convey to us their ideas. Very good.
Good. Ted, anything? Karen? Mary? Okay. So, yes, our first budget meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 18th. I think it's Tuesday. Right? 2 weeks.
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock, and that's going to involve the fire department. So we will begin our budget hearings at that time and review to discuss what changes or things we need to do. We'll be talking to the department heads. They will provide us with the information we need about why they have funds within their budget and things. You know, just listening to what people are saying and things in general. Obviously, there's reasons why we're a village as opposed to not a village, and what is good and bad within the village, and what people enjoy and how they enjoy things within the village that we provide to them, whether they're absolutely necessary services or just nice things that happen within the village. And so we will be taking a hard look at all those types of things and the expense that comes with them. And then obviously the expense that comes with providing those services that people do want, for the most part or whatever. So there's certainly some necessary and obligatory types of expenses, and then there's some that we can look at and see just how obligatory they are to the quality of life for the residents of the villages. We just heard from different people talking about that. So the first meeting will be at 9 o'clock next Tuesday morning here. I just want to thank everybody that participated at the turkey dinner. For anybody that some corporations and business people made donations to us. So we thank them. I thank them for that. All the money that was raised went directly to the senior center. Everything that was utilized was donated or purchased by the senior center, like a couple of little things. So that money all went back to them. I thank Casey and Matt, Mark, and Dan, and everyone for helping. And it went well. We ended up, I think, serving around 275 dinners that day. And the difference of the sit down and being able to talk with people is we would have to have it open like all day long for people to come and go for serve that number of people in the confined space that it is. So that's why we go to the drive-through. So
Well, I would like to encourage, I like the idea of the kids out there delivering the things. I mean, that's.
yeah, no, I understand you're not
But
complaining about
I'd
it.
like
I
to
know you're
encourage
just complaining.
people, some people that have a place to park and come in and talk, because
Right,
they are interested in, you know, there's a lot of people either on the senior board or on this board or whoever's helping, just to come in and chit chat.
right. And one of the things that is lacking when people can't come in is they can't see the facility or get to experience the inside of the facility to know if they want to come or send someone to participate in some of the things there. So that's a downside to it.
It's hard to imagine being able to do that, serve that many meals. And
That's
give
the
up the
problem.
dining.
We
room.
had 3 servings.
Yeah, they used to have 2 or 3 servings in order to accommodate that.
And
So-
takeout also.
Okay. With that, motion to adjourn.
So.
Second.
Second, favor?
All right.
Okay.